First Man, starring Ryan Gosling, aka the cutest man alive, is a pretty good movie. There, that's my review. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye guys. Okay, no, but actually though, First Man tells a surprisingly somber and emotional tale of Neil Armstrong, the first man to walk on the moon, and the major events in his life that led up to the Apollo 11 mission. It's also a movie that was met with some small controversy as it didn't have a scene of Armstrong placing the American flag on the moon. I'll touch on this a bit later in my review, but for now I just want to talk about the film and why I liked it. For starters, the cinematography in this film is superb. Almost every scene here is filmed as a close-up shot with some kind of shakiness or movement, and this works to great effect because it really helps the viewer experience the claustrophobic nature of the small spacecrafts that people like Armstrong would spend long amounts of time in. And speaking of that, there's plenty of scenes in the film where we get to see the astronauts operating the spacecrafts many thousands of feet in the air, and it's all filmed so well with a lot of violent shaking that it actually made me feel dizzy while watching it. Scenes like those are then contrasted with much quieter moments down on Earth where Armstrong interacts with his wife and children. Neil Armstrong himself is presented very well here. Ryan Gosling does a great job of playing a serious, calm, well-mannered individual who never openly expresses much emotion. This especially becomes more clear when you see Armstrong facing multiple tragedies throughout his life, along with the stress of the job and the sheer difficulty of the mission, and how he just quietly, solemnly tries to keep himself together through all of it, like a glass on the verge of shattering into many pieces. It's superb acting on every level, and Gosling deserves much praise for it. I can't speak much on the historical accuracy of this film as I'm not an expert on the subject, but from what I've read online, this movie does seem to be mostly accurate, with only a few specific moments being fictional. Everything down to the small buttons and switches in the cockpits of the spacecrafts were all made to be as accurate as possible. The characters here are all also portrayed faithfully from what real historical accounts have said, Armstrong included, and that's also worth commending. The movie also touches on the fact that there were some people in America who were actually opposed to the moon mission. The reasons for going, the pros versus the cons, and all the risks that came with doing such a tremendous task are all on full display here, and it helps to add a layer of complexity to the film. It doesn't act overly patriotic, but I definitely wouldn't call this an unpatriotic film either. It simply presents the situation as it happened, and honestly, I'm fine with that. At the end of the day, this is a movie about Neil Armstrong, and less about the American achievement of landing on the moon. On to the negative side of things. There really isn't much here, to be honest. The only issues I have with this film is that it slows down a little too much at times, and it focuses on certain subplots that don't seem to pay off, so they end up looking like oversights by the director. The movie also has a lot of emotional scenes, since many people in Armstrong's life unfortunately passed away. But the problem here is that none of the characters are given enough time to be developed, so when they die, you don't really feel impacted by it. There is some small historical inaccuracy here, and if you're a person who's picky about that stuff, it'll bother you because there is one major scene that was clearly just meant to be typical Hollywood drama. But since it works thematically well with everything that's set up in the film, I don't mind too much. It's still worth mentioning though. The movie also ends at a strange point, which I wouldn't necessarily count as a negative, it just seemed weird and out of place. And then, there's the flag scene, or should I say the lack of a flag scene. There actually is sort of a moment where the American flag is shown on the moon, but the actual moment of Armstrong placing it into the ground is strangely missing. This was a point of controversy for a short amount of time before the film came out. I mean, even Donald Trump had something to say about that. I personally don't mind this completely, but I do think that it should have been included because this was, at the end of the day, a huge American achievement. There's no need to have a super dramatic and patriotic scene with a bald eagle screeching in the distance or anything, but setting foot on the moon for the first time and placing the American flag on it is an iconic moment in human history, and it shouldn't be neglected whatsoever. Overall though, that's my opinion on this film. A lot of positives and a couple of negatives, but nothing big that would detract from the quality of the movie at all. That said, I wouldn't recommend this film to most people because it is very slow and drawn out. It's not a huge issue, but if you're not the kind of person that's interested in the topic, you'll fall asleep watching this. It's not a simple popcorn flick by any means. It's super detailed and nuanced, and if you're interested in seeing that kind of thing, then I can absolutely recommend it. My final score is an 8 out of 10. This is a really good movie, and a great tale of strength, courage, and sheer bravery in the face of all odds. Rest in peace, Neil Armstrong. You won't be forgotten anytime soon. Let me know what you guys thought about this movie in the comments though. And if you haven't seen it, let me know if my review convinced you to go buy a ticket. If you liked the review, hit the like button, and if you didn't like it, hit the dislike button, and let me know why in the comments below. Just be honest, that's all I ask. If you want to see more movie reviews and more movie analysis videos, be sure to subscribe. Alright, bye now.